Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I last posted a video, but don't worry, I'm back and better than ever. I'm going to be posting more videos with good consistency, so make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a thing. And as always, you know what to do: like, comment and subscribe. I encourage you to watch the video because there are some valid tips and advice throughout. And now let's get started. Today we will be discussing a red color pencil portrait of a familiar person among artists, Jerry Saltz, an art critic and writer. While searching for a reference of an average person for my drawings, not a model face, I stumbled upon Jerry's face on Instagram. As I follow Mr. Saltz and am curious about his opinions on art subjects, I decided to use his interesting face as a reference. Although the photo is a selfie, I don't mind using it as long as it is of fair quality. Once I have enough information for my drawing approach, it will serve its purpose. In this work, I'm using a Faber-Castell Polychromos Deep Red number 223 pencil and paper from Stillman & Byrne, which is mixed media and has a smooth surface. As you can see, I began by making initial marks to establish the placement of the head. I carefully considered the proportions of the head and its angle. The head is a bit narrow and slightly tilted on the side, which is typical of Jerry's selfies. The narrow head and the hat on top make the silhouette appear stretched vertically. The first outlines I made could be changed later even by using a colored pencil, and it is not a problem if they cannot be fully erased. This is because the lines I'm making are very light and can be overlapped and merged in the layers of shading. Additionally, I appreciate the imperfections that are shown through the drawing as they make the work more authentic. My approach to drawing is not quite academic. I don't like to construct a face starting with the block and concept, although I understand the necessity and benefits of it, especially for beginners. If you are a beginner, please take your time and study the basic head anatomy and learn some of the popular concepts of constructing the head. It will give you a solid foundation for further improvement. Additionally, train your eyes, or I'd rather say your brain, to measure the proportions effectively. Guessing the right measurement while drawing has become a sort of obsession of mine in a good way. I've been a perfectionist in terms of getting proportions right, and I think I've trained my brain enough so I can trust it. I always assume that getting the right proportions is the most important thing in art, which is not true in the big art world. However, I understand that in classic portrait drawing, it is quite important, so I still am quite attached to that approach and still enjoy it. At this stage, I would like to offer you some valuable advice. Firstly, it is important to get the proportions of the larger shapes and the angle of the head right at the beginning of your drawing. You can do this by checking the vertical middle line, which is the line of symmetry that I don't draw in this drawing, but just imagine in my head. Secondly, the length and the width of the face are two measurements that correlate with each other. You want to know how many times the width of the face fits into the length of the face. I usually do most of the measurements in my head, but I also use the sighting method, which involves using a pencil and your thumb as a tool to measure how many times one size fits into another. Or you can use a pencil as a plumb line to see all the points that are lined up on one vertical or horizontal lines. This process enables me to determine the distance between certain points in the plumb line. This helps me better understand where to place certain features or whether I need to make adjustments. It is important to constantly calculate proportions in your head, as it should become a habit. For instance, let's pause here for a moment. I need to check if the left iris of the eye is placed correctly. Normally, I would use a long pencil to hold it in place, but for convenience in this video, I'm using a red guideline instead. As we can see in the reference, the point of the iris is lined up with the edge of the nostril. Now, we'll check it in our drawing and see if any corrections are needed. It appears to be correct. You will use this method both vertically and horizontally quite often. It's a back and forth process. Check often and you'll get a better result. Here I'm in the process of defining the facial features, checking and double checking their placement on the face. Although I can see some imperfection now, you may also notice that, but that's okay. I can fix them later in the drawing. Although I can see some imperfection now, you may also notice that, but that's okay. I can fix them later in the drawing. My point is that when you place a drawing next to the reference, it's all of a sudden much easier to spot errors in your drawing. This tells me that maybe I should take a picture and place it next to the reference on my laptop or iPad to see the areas that need to be fixed. Alternatively, if you have a printer on hand, you could also print out your reference. That's another way to ease your struggle. Now I would like to stop here and demonstrate another example where I used the sighting method to measure the length of the nose. I took the width of one framed lens from the reference as the unit of measurement to determine how much of that size fits the length of the nose. It appears that the unit fits the length of the nose exactly once. For the next measurement, I took the distance between the outer corners of the eyes to determine where that distance would be on the vertical central line. This allows me to check the placement of the lips and determine whether I should move them higher or lower. It seems like they were slightly lower than they were supposed to be, so I'm using a pen style razor to take off the wrong lines and make new correct ones to fix the error. At around this stage, I begin adding light shading while still constantly checking the proportions, sizes, angles, and distances. Adding shading at this stage is not recommended by professional academic artists, but I do it anyway when I'm overly confident about my proportions. I also feel like I can get them better while shading as well. Another nuance I want to point out is that the top of the hat is a little too hipster, too high. I initially thought that proportions of the hat needed to be fixed, but I changed my mind, so I left it as a big hipster hat. I apologize, Jerry, that's my vision now. I'd like to take a moment to discuss my shading process. For textured surfaces, such as skin with wrinkles, fabric, and other textured surfaces, I aim to create a texture that imitates those surfaces. For example, if I see lines in the skins, like in Jerry's example, I observe vertical lines there and replicate them in my drawing. This adds extra skin texture, but not in an obvious way. In another example, I'm more likely to add shading strokes in the direction of the arrows you see in that square example. Every stroke I put down should make sense to me and never be random. At first, when you just start learning drawing, it may take some time to figure out what makes sense for you, but eventually all of those decisions will become half or fully automatic. You'll just feel it and not have to think about it. I also use the shading direction that is most comfortable for my hand, which is slanted shading at around 45 degrees. So I kind of use a combination of direction of shading, which is the one I read from the reference and the other direction that is most comfortable for me. Hey there, thanks for joining me today. Please stick around till the end of the video and feel free to drop your questions about this process in the comment section. If you have any suggestions for my future videos or concerns about your drawing practice, contact me or drop them all in the comment section. I'll take them into consideration. I'm really excited to create helpful videos for you guys, and your engagement and support mean the world to me. That's all for now. Stay tuned and see you in another video. Bye.